Yeah, we are live now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 6th Advanced Level Innovation Ambassador training session. I welcome Mr. Deepan Sahu, Assistant Innovation Director at Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, for joining the session. So on the topic, understanding TRL level, MRL level, and IRL level and stages, and implications in innovation development. We have an expert speaker, Dr. Ashutosh Pastor, who is currently managing startup incubation and innovation program at Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer, IIT Delhi. So FITT is one of the oldest academic institution based incubator in the country and is the leading incubator in the region for many government programs. Dr. Ashutosh has completed his PhD from IIT Delhi and has 5 years of experience working in various roles to support startups. So now I would like to invite Dr. Ashutosh Pastor to start the session.
Thanks a lot, Udyan, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. Today, we'll be talking a little bit about the readiness levels, the technology readiness level, manufacturing readiness level, and investment readiness level. Why exactly these are important in the context of product developments, and what are the implications in innovation development. So, my name is Ashutosh. I'm from FITT IIT Delhi, and Udyan has already introduced. A bit about FITT, just in a couple of seconds. FITT is an organization which was primarily mandated to do technology commercialization, and we started in 1992 with a lot of different kind of active roles we are playing. One is professional development, corporate memberships. We do a lot of programs with the corporates, contract research, consultancy. We take care of the intellectual property filing for institutes and even for startups. We help with technology transfers, forming spin-offs, licensing, and collaborations. In 1999 and 2000, we started our incubation programs. We have 3 active incubators, and 2 science and technology parks have come up. One is under planning right now. Till now, we have supported more than 125 startups through physical incubation, but through virtual and through other programs. About 250 to 300 startups have been impacted. We're also running a lot of funding programs like Innovation Awards, startup funding support programs, and there's a large technical and business mentor pool. Being in IIT, the technical pool is quite impactful that comes in. And there's a nationwide network with major incubation centers and universities and Global Connect. So that I would just like to highlight a bit on today's session. Now, why we need to understand these readiness levels, it's very important in a product management life cycle perspective. So when you get an idea or when you think about a challenge that you want to solve, or maybe want to try and develop something which can alleviate a lot of problems in the society. And in the past year or so, I think many of you might have understood that you can bring in certain solutions that can solve a lot of problems that we are facing. So it all starts with generation of an idea. Now, idea is very important, and it's the foundation from where you start. And how does that idea come in? So basically, the idea comes in from seeing your surroundings, understanding what the people are facing, the environment, the society, the community. And from there, you can pick up certain challenges that you may, with your technical skills and expertise, solve and bring in an impact. So talking more in terms of the product development. So, I mean, initially the whole thing is to generate and prioritize your ideas, what exactly you can do, how much resources you need for that, create an initial proposition of what exactly will you bring to the table. Then you analyze in terms of market need, justify the investments that you're looking for. Again, like consolidate and write down your requirements. Then starts the development part. So there you design the solutions and have to deliver the solutions. You demonstrate that the initial challenges or the requirements of the market are met. And at this stage, then you start validating your product. So first thing is to validate for markets. You do some initial trials or pilots with the customers, you finalize the proposition, prepare for launch. And once the launch is done, then again, like there's a feedback, you track performance, and every product is having a certain life cycle. After that, you have to keep innovating. So either the product itself gets more innovative features, or people come up with entirely different products to solve similar kind of problems. And that way the technology keeps on developing. So now in this overall cycle, when we talk about the analysis, development, and go-to-market part, it's very important to understand the various stages that you go through these. And for a startup, or even for researchers, faculty members, it's very important to understand at what stage we are. So the question is, are we ready, and at what stage we are when we are talking about an innovation or a product development? So as we were discussing about the topic of the day, it's about the readiness levels. Now, these readiness levels are primarily created to define at what stage of product development, or at what stage of your manufacturing process, or at what stage you are when you are seeking investment, and whether you're ready to get that investment or not. So with that, I think I will just define briefly the readiness levels. Today, we are going to talk about three basic readiness levels, and the terminologies keep changing, evolving. There are a few more readiness levels that come up, and we'll just quickly glance through those in the later part of the session. So the most commonly used level, technology readiness level, I think most of you might be aware of that. So technology readiness level basically defines how much ready, or at what stage a technology is in its various stages of development. So you can talk about in terms of a technology, or a product, or an offering that you're going to bring to the table. Now, TRL methodology originated so it was started by Stan Starin, NASA headquarters in 1974, when they were building a Jupiter spaceship. And the whole idea was to understand and maybe standardize the understanding of the readiness of the whole system. So whether the components are tested, whether the whole system works together, is it ready for launch? So it was easier to define in terms of a terminology, where if I say that it's at TRL level 5, people might be able to understand that, okay, this is ready with this much of precision, or this much of kind of technology readiness. Now, TRLs measure the maturity level of technology, again, as through the development and deployment phase. It's based on a scale from 1 to 9, where 9 being the most mature, or maybe you can say products with that are already in market and validated by the customers. The next important thing is manufacturing readiness level. Manufacturing readiness level is not that a common term amongst ourselves when we do research, but it's very important when we are developing products that we want to take to market. So while we're developing the technologies and the product, but we are also building a business along with that. So it's very important to understand where we are, and whether we are ready to actually manufacture that product in a specific manner, in a cost-effective manner, with a certain level of quality. So all these things come under the manufacturing readiness level, and we'll be defining those in details. So this was developed under the US Department of Defense Mantech program, where they were working to mirror the TRL structures and process in terms of manufacturing. Now, manufacturing readiness level consists of 10 different levels. So while TRL is on a scale from 1 to 9, MRL is at a scale of up to 10. And from basic manufacturing implications to full rate production. So it was basically initially started and tied to the defense acquisition processes. Now, we talk about investment readiness level because, see, there are many situations where the technology being developed is fuzzy and it's not exactly a technological development. So when we do a startup, for instance, it could be based on existing technologies also, where we primarily need to assess the business plan or the business readiness of a particular startup or an individual entrepreneur. So the investment readiness level was created by Steve Blank, and it's same as TRLs for products, IRLs for investments based on the business proposition. So in this case, many of the companies that are not even bringing any specific technology to the table, but with their business plans and all, they can have an investment readiness level. So it works in a range of verticals and context, including software-based products and services, which is TRL's weak point. Now, TRL is too specific to be directly applied to all organizations, but IRL in that way, it's quite general and subjective and can be applied to many different use cases. A brief about the technology readiness levels. It starts with a basic idea. So I'll be defining in the next few slides about the technology readiness levels. But this is an overall picture. And as you see, like it varies a lot in different sectors. While we talk in general, like TRL1 is a basic idea, TRL2 is a concept developed, TRL3 is an experimental proof of concept, TRL4 comes in when we have completed a lab demonstration initially, TRL5 is when the lab scale validation of this product is done. At TRL6, you can demonstrate the prototype. At TRL7, the capabilities are validated on economic runs or actual environments. In TRL8, the capability or systems are incorporated in commercial designs and the designing part is completed. In TRL9, it's validated and proven and ready for deployment and even tested with the actual users. So this is when we talk about science and engineering. In softwares, these definitions vary a little bit, as you see in this slide. I maybe, for the paucity of time, won't go through each of these. In medical science, you can define it as a little different, like TRL1 and 2 are again basic research, TRL3 and 4 when we go to preclinical research stages, TRL5 when we are at late preclinical research stages, TRL6 when we are at phase 1 trials, TRL7 when we are at phase 2 trials, and then by the time we reach TRL9, we complete the phase 3 trials and it's ready to deploy. And also in terms of the development, there's a phase which is linked to the TRLs. So while initial TRLs 1, 2, 3 are more in terms of research, it's more done by academia. The TRL 4 to 6 and 7 specifically are the stages when we are looking at the translation of the technology or translation of the science into developing a product. And TRL 7, 8, and 9 are primarily meant towards commercialization. So let's discuss a bit about the TRLs. And I think while most of you might be knowing, it's very important to understand TRLs. And to an extent, while we go through the TRLs, subsequently, we also have to take care about the manufacturing readiness levels. So I'll talk about that later, but I think first let's go through the technology readiness levels. So when we talk about TRL1, TRL1 is basically to kind of do a background study on your idea or to kind of clarify your concepts and do some observation on the principles on which the technology is going to be based. So the questions you ask is, why is this important? The initial scientific research, which starts with the studies, the background references that you search, you include your studies on basic material properties, the principles are qualitatively postulated and observed, and the focus is more on a fundamental understanding of a material or a process. So at the TRL1, you understand that this thing is important. Scientifically, the concept is possible. So it's more in a theoretical manner. Then at TRL2, we reach to an applied research mindset. So you need to identify the practical applications of the science or the technology. So the question you ask is, how can I use this technology, or how can I use this scientific principle to bring in a product to the market or to the customer? So you have to understand the potential of the materials or the process to satisfy the technology. At this stage, the applications would be speculative and there may be no proof or detailed analysis. But then again, you have to go through those assumptions. So you have to now gather the supporting information that outlines that the application being considered is relevant and it's important for the markets. Again, the most of the work is analytical or paper studies in this stage, with emphasis on understanding the science better. And you design your experimental works to corroborate with basic scientific observations that you made in TRL1. So in TRL2, you think about application of your technology or science, and you start planning on the experimental work. Then we come to TRL3. TRL3 is critical function or proof of concept. So you basically kind of experimentally validate whether it works or not. So applied research continues, but then early stage development and experimental work begins in this stage. So the whole idea is to have the experimental work so that the proof of concept or the proof of application of the technology in that particular area is completed. In this case, the examples include like research on materials, components, or processes that are again not yet integrated, but separately you know that these might work. The supporting information that you need to have at this level includes results of laboratory tests that you perform, the parameters of interest and comparison to analytically predict critical components. Modeling and simulation studies may be used to complement the physical experiments. Then we go ahead and we move to the technology readiness level 4. Technology readiness level 4 is more into laboratory validation of initial prototypes, components, or processes. Now, at this stage, we have not still integrated those components, but we start developing a prototype. So design and development of an interactive robot. So at the left image that you see, you can see that it's able to identify different things, or maybe it's able to assess the language if somebody talks to it. So it's just the basic initial thing that is being developed to understand whether it can do the functions that it's supposed to do. So the basic technological components are integrated to establish that the pieces will work together, but the pieces are still not all integrated. So it's the step basically to determine whether the individual components of the system will work together when the system is complete. The TRLs 4 to 6 primarily represent the bridge from scientific research to engineering and from development to demonstration. So while at TRL 3, we primarily work in the laboratories, at TRL 4 and 5, we start with the engineering processes to an extent. The goal of TRL 4 primarily should be narrowing of possible options in the complete system. So you kind of narrow down on certain concepts that this is what you want to take into your final systems. Then we come to TRL 5, which is laboratory testing of integrated or semi-integrated systems. In this case, while in the previous image you saw that, okay, one part of the system is working and it's understanding what it's supposed to. In this stage, you start integrating or semi-integrating the system. So now you come and try and fix the pieces together to build a system. So the basic technological components are integrated and the system configuration is attempted to be similar to the final application in most of the aspects. At this stage, supporting information will include analysis of the differences between laboratory and eventual operating systems, because now you're moving from the lab studies towards an actual development, and so you have to mimic the actual operating environment of the whole system. So the differences between TRL 4 and 5 is in the increase in fidelity of the system and more suited to the environment of the actual application. The system tested is almost a prototype only at this stage also, but scientific risk should be retired. So you should be knowing that, okay, these principles will work, the basic science and the basic technology will work. Now you have to build in a product in terms of integrating the systems, in terms of giving it the final design, and again, thinking about the manufacturing aspects. At TRL 6, you see the prototype system is integrated, and the whole integrated system could be demonstrated in an operational environment. So the operational environment is not the actual field application, but it mimics the operational environment. So this represents a major step in the technology's demonstrated readiness. So here you can basically see that, okay, this thing will work. Or maybe we are not ready with the final designs yet, but the basic functionalities are there, and you can overall kind of get an idea like how exactly the system will work. So So basically the analysis of differences between engineering scale, prototyping scale, environment, and analysis of what the experimental results mean for the eventual operating system. So this all is done under TRL6, that we kind of try and get more validations or more data on the actual environment or operational environment setting. The difference between TRL5 and 6 is the step up from laboratory scale to engineering scale. Now you have to start building in terms of the manufacturing, design, and all those capabilities. So this pilot scale demonstration at TRL6 should be capable of performing all the functions that are required by the full manufacturing system. So in terms of functionality, at TRL6, the product will be doing all the functions that the final product will be doing. And again, the operating environment should closely represent the actual operating environment. And TRL6 begins the true engineering development of the technology as an operational system. At TRL7, we reach an integrated pilot system. So the system is basically demonstrated. So at the previous state, while we were validating the integrated system, now we are basically at a stage where we can demonstrate the integrated system. So the system process prototype is demonstrated in an operational environment. Again, like it's a major step up from TRL6, because it will be a demonstration of an actual working system. The final design is virtually complete, but still some aspects of the design may still be worked out when you reach to a manufacturing level. The goal at this stage is to retire the risks. So basically, we have to reduce all the risks by the level of TRL7, that in terms of engineering, we are not facing any more bottlenecks. In terms of manufacturing, we are kind of ready with most of the things. So at that stage, so Credilby achieve TRL7 and exit TRL7, the scale is required, as many significant engineering and manufacturing issues and can be there during the transition between TRL6 and 7. So this is more of like a ready working product. Now at TRL8, what we do is the system is incorporated in a commercial design. So at TRL8 level, we try and look more in terms of the design aspects of the product. So while we have already proved that the technology is working in its final form under the expected conditions, mimicking the operational environment, TRL8 may represent the end of true system development. So we see, okay, the final system is kind of developed now. Now we're reaching the full-scale volume manufacturing of the commercial end product. And at TRL8, we'll be able to know the true manufacturing costs, and deltas to model will need to be highlighted. And again, like we need to address the plans in manufacturing, the cost effectiveness and all that, and few things we'll be understanding in the manufacturing readiness level as well. So at TRL8, basically you can see that the final thing is more in terms of design and manufacturing aspects to launch the final system. Now we move to TRL9. So TRL9, the system is proven and ready for full commercial deployment. So as you can see in the image now, the system could be tested with actual users. The technology is in its final form. Obviously, as we discussed on the previous slides, that the feedback loop happens, and then obviously the technologies and the products in terms of designs keep on improving. But at TRL9, your product is finally able to go to the operating conditions and user validations. So the actual system is proven through successful operations and operating environment, and now it's ready for full commercial deployment. At this stage, you also need to understand the fast manufacturing and all those things, and we'll discuss that as well. Now, examples include 24/7 manufacturing, meeting costs, yield, output targets, quality, and everything. And now the emphasis shifts more towards statistical process control. So the product is ready. Now it basically go into its manufacturing and market. So this was basically an overview of all the technology readiness level systems. I just used a very basic example to take you through all these, and I think many of you might be knowing all these already. Now, There's another example of these chevrons that were built by NASA and Boeing. So in this, through this example, also you can understand how the TRL levels progress. So sonic booms was a big problem that used to come from jet planes, and to reduce that sound, the engineers started working initially at TRL 1 and 2, as you see on the bottom of the slide. Fundamental investigations of air mixing device were done. So a lot of different designs were being studied. At that stage, they did some basic research in fluid physics and all, and understood the concepts. In early 1990s, they reached to TRL3, where multiple designs were done, and they started actual experiments with these designs to see which designs are better in terms of reducing the sound. Then during 1995 and 1997, it reached to model tests for acoustics and aerodynamics. But again, that was more of simulation and tests done with a larger engine, but in a laboratory conditions. When they reached TRL6, it was integrated to the plane, and aerodynamics tests were done. At TRL7, the validations of concept were done in flight, and then TRL8, 9, they were actually integrated and were deployed in a lot of engines and airplanes. So the problem that they were facing of high sonic booms reduced. So again, this is a stage of development of a product through various TRLs. Again, was a very simple example, so I thought to bring it forward. Now, also in terms of the interest levels at different stages of the technology readiness. Now, while most of us are coming from academia, and we start doing some basic research, validating concepts, or maybe doing a proof of concept study in the laboratory. So as you can see on the lower axis, you see the technology readiness levels 1 to 9. And then in the yellow bar here, you see at what stage it is, like from basic research 1, and the 2 is applied research. So applied research goes to level of 3 and 4. The product development or the technology development happens between 5 and 7, and the final development and deployments happen between the levels of 9, where the manufacturing thing is also ready along with it. So as you see, like generally TRLs up to 4 or 5 could be done by academia, government labs, but at this stage, usually when we see like between TRL 3 and 7, it's also very important for entrepreneurs, because this is where we take up entrepreneurship. So while the basic research or applied research within the lab is completed, now you do a startup, you start building the product. So for entrepreneurs, I think where they generally start between TRL 3 and 4, and take it to TRL. So I mean, again, the startup can go to again TRL 9 and 10. But this is the very critical stages for them. And again, when we talk about resources, so academia and government labs are funded through government support. In between, there's also a resource crunch, because entrepreneurs who might not be having enough capital, they start developing those. And once again, the products are demonstrated and all, then large businesses can take it over, and private sector venture capitalists and all also come in. But now government has also like kind of started a lot of innovation programs, and government funding now goes up to TRL 7 and 8 also, with various stages. So there are certain number of programs. AICT and MHRD have launched some initial level programs, BIRAC, DBT, DST. Most of them are having certain programs that help you to take through TRL levels 3 to 7 and 8. I'll also talk about certain challenging technology readiness levels. And again, as we were understanding in the previous slides, one was about the lack of resources and all, because when you are at a startup stage, you might not be having enough resources to develop that product, or maybe even get all the resources for prototyping. The supply chain is not there. So these kind of challenges are met. So in terms of product, the performance and sustainability has to be checked. In terms of business, you have to lower down the cost, you have to enhance the production times. You also need to think about higher return on investment. In terms of innovation challenges, the marketing and sales research is also required, the customer feedback is required. And then there are certain process challenges, because again, as I was mentioning, like TRL 4 or 5 goes to the universities. up to TRL 5s, generally the universities take it forward, but then they lack resources and experience to take it actually to the market sometimes. And industry at these early TRLs have no time or interest. So for these TRLs specifically between 4 to 7, it's very important that academia and industry try and work together. So while the technology transfer might happen at any stage between 4 to 7, but for certain development stages, it has to be a co-development where the scientists bring in their basic knowledge and principles, and then the industry helps bringing their practical product development experience to finally build the product. So that was about TRLs. I'll be talking a bit about manufacturing readiness levels and subsequently investment readiness levels also. So when we talk about manufacturing readiness levels, it's very important while we develop the technology and go through all the TRLs, but at one stage we need to think about the manufacturing as well, because you might be developing a new technology. There might not be standard manufacturing processes for those. So you also have to parallelly develop a manufacturing process along with your technology. It's very important for disruptive products that have not been developed in the past. So in that case, you still need to search about raw material suppliers, getting the manpower. So in manufacturing readiness levels, we actually consider a lot of different factors. Now we'll be discussing a bit about different MRLs, but giving the definition. So the manufacturing readiness levels are defined to provide an understanding of relative maturity and risks associated with manufacturing technologies, manufacturing products and processes. So it's more in terms of setting up a production enterprise where the product that maybe we were discussing in TRL could be manufactured. It's quite common for manufacturing readiness to be based by technology readiness or design stability. So it's not a thing that you think about once you have completed the product development. The manufacturing readiness is a parallel activity, and it needs to be thought about right in the duration when you're developing your technology. So we'll also see a comparative, like where exactly at the level of TRLs we should look into the manufacturing readiness. Now, the important aspect is to identify the risks associated with manufacturing, and its management must begin at the earliest stages of technology development. And these things should be kept in mind at a stage. So once we reach TRL 3, I mean, the best way would be to start thinking about these things right from TRL 1 and 2. But once you reach TRL 3, it's very important to understand and keep in mind the manufacturing readiness levels parallelly as you go through the technology readiness levels. So as mentioned in the last line also, so the MRL assessment should continue vigorously throughout each stage of the program's life cycle. Now, this is the only slide I'll put in terms of manufacturing readiness levels, but it speaks a lot, so I thought I'll put it here. And you also compare this with the technology readiness. Now, as you see, like initially it's pre-material solution analysis, then you go to material solution analysis. The technology in terms of the components, the system comes in, then engineering and manufacturing development, production and deployment. So while you go through these TRLs also, so TRL 1, 2, 3, then TRL 4, 5, and 6 are in terms of technology development, components and systems. Again, parallel, you think about the manufacturing readiness levels also. So if you see in the dark green bars that are there, so generally at TRL 1, 2, and 3, you also think about manufacturing readiness levels of 1, 2, and 3, where manufacturing concepts are to be identified in terms of, again, basic research, and advanced technology development. So here we are thinking more in terms of manufacturing something. Now, so it could be both ways. One is like manufacturing a very innovative product. One could be, again, coming up with a very good manufacturing process for maybe existing products also. So the manufacturing readiness levels could be understood in that sense as well. Now, at MRL 3 and between MRL 3 and 4, we need to understand the manufacturing feasibility, the manufacturing processes. So you think about how exactly you can automate, what are the resources that you need, the key processes that you need to incorporate, those are identified, and producibility assessments are initiated. So you start thinking about how you will build a manufacturing line or an assembly line for the particular product. Now, between MRL 4 and 5, which is again at similar stages of technology readiness levels 4 and 5 also, the manufacturing processes are emerging. Again, the producibility assessments that you started in the previous MRL, it is an ongoing thing through the MRL 4 as well. And the manufacturing cost drivers are also identified. So here you need to also work a lot on the cost drivers. So what exactly will be your production cost in terms of capital, in terms of raw material, in terms of the requisite manpower and other things that are required. When we reach to manufacturing levels 5, so again, so it's produced system in a relevant environment. So you start producing in a relevant environment. So it's kind of mimicking the environment that will finally go into production. So in this case, the cost driver analysis is completed. Long lead items are identified and equipment in a relevant environment. So in this case, what you do is your kind of manufacturing chain or your automation process, those things are in place, and you can actually try and do a demonstration that the manufacturing process will work. Again, like certain things will keep on coming in place, and the processes are updated for more cost effectiveness, faster turnaround times. But this is at an initial stage where you are ready to actually put the product in a manufacturing line and produce the product. At level of 6, it's in production representative environment. So manufacturing processes are finally being developed with the kind of equipment and all that you have brought in at MRL of 5. The producibility is improved, and its improvement will keep on all through the MRL 6. You have to do trade studies, and also you have to include your supply chain management. So supply chain management comes in multiple ways. Supply chain management comes in terms of your partners, your raw material suppliers, and then your distributors and all those things. So at this production stage, manufacturing readiness level of 6, you also need to identify that the supply chain management structure is in place. Now, when we move to manufacturing readiness level 7, the pilot line demonstration is ready for a low rate initial production. So now the automated processes and all are ready, but we can do the initial production at a low rate. So while the product is going to a pilot scale for marketing, you need a few thousand units. So that production process is ready. So the process maturity is demonstrated at this stage. All the materials for a low rate initial production are ready. The manufacturing processes are proven. The supply chain is stable. Now, by giving a very, very simple example, for example, when I'm at an emerging manufacturing process, I can use a 3D printer or something to do a prototype where some initial units could be manufactured. But as we go for low rate initial production and then fast production, we might need an advanced a system, and at actual manufacturing level, you might need a casting and injection molding machine to like kind of fastly manufacture these things. So all these are processes that need to be in place. So when we are doing an initial prototype in the lab, it might take like 6 to 8 months to just build one prototype because our manufacturing readiness is not in place. When we start doing prototypes and pilots in markets, so we have some low rate initial prototype low rate initial production process ready with us, so that maybe we can do a faster turnaround. Maybe instead of 9 months to build a prototype, now I can take 9 days to build one system. And at this stage, when your demonstration is ready for the low rate initial production, all materials should be ready, the manufacturing processes are proven, and the supply chain for low rate initial production is stable. So in this case, the stability means that you're able to get the raw material. Again, like supply chain disruptions could happen. like we saw in COVID last year, the supply chain disrupts in a way that you're not able to get the initial raw material that you need. So you need to stabilize on that. Maybe you can partner with multiple people or have a robust supply chain. Then when we reach to manufacturing readiness level 8, so the low rate initial production is in place, but you're getting yourself ready for a fast rate production. So the manufacturing processes are operating at target quality, cost, and performance. So while in MRL 7, we were basically demonstrating that our pilot line is ready for low rate initial production. Here, the low rate initial production is already in place, and you assess the performance, quality, and cost. And supply chain is established and is meeting the lead times in terms of your output that you have to give or in terms of your commitments to customers. And then you eventually reach to the fast rate production or the final stage where we are at a lean production. So everything is automated. Now you don't need resources which are redundant. You have standardized the processes and you can do the production in as less cost as possible with the automation or with the technical manpower that is available. So at this stage, the Lean Six Sigma principles are in place. You're meeting or exceeding the cost demand, cost requirements, cost factors, and the schedule and performance goals are being met. So as you understood, the complete manufacturing readiness level rotates around having a manufacturing capability for the product or technology that we earlier discussed, or maybe for an entirely new product or system that you are developing. And for that, the market may not be having initial components. The market may not be even having a supply chain. So how do you establish a supply chain? And then finally, you meet your targets of manufacturing the product in a particular cost at a particular schedule in the numbers that you want, and the quality and performances are taken care of. So that's broadly about the manufacturing readiness levels. There's also a term that we call investment readiness level. Now, as we were discussing in the first slide itself, that in certain businesses, there may not be a clear demarcation in TRLs, because if we go to a business model case where a technology development is not happening per se, for instance, we can take service-based markets, e-commerce, many other service-based examples are there where we're not actually developing a product, and we may not even be developing a manufacturing line, but it's more about the offering that we provide. So while TRLs and MRLs could be part of this, there might be certain cases where investment readiness does not need to take care of those things if a product is not being offered. So now this scale was primarily defined, as I mentioned, like for more of like software products or service-based things, where we're not bringing in a physical touch and feel product, but we're bringing more of services also. So as you see, the investment readiness levels also give an idea about the investment readiness in terms of who will invest and how much you're ready to. So it also depends on the business readiness that we have. So today I might just be having an idea. I don't have a plan. So I'm at a very early stage. I need to start even working on the business model canvas. So I have not reached an investment level. But once I start doing the first pass of the business model canvas, then I'll be reaching to my investment readiness one. So before I think explaining this slide even more in detail, I'll explain a little bit about the business model canvas that we have. So we start filling it at different stages. The first thing that you need to identify is your customer segments. So you start filling it from the right side. Who are your customers? So once you identify a challenge, once you have that idea, like, okay, this is what I have to work on, then along with the challenge, you also identify who would be the customer. So if I am facing the challenge, people like me are also facing the challenge. So we could be the customers. Now, customer could be an individual like me, or an industry, or an institution. Any segment of customer could be there. So you need to clearly identify who would be the target customer. Is it any common man, or is it one particular segment of people who are doing something, maybe healthcare professionals, maybe social activity people. So you need to identify, again, maybe related to occupations and different things. So once the customer segment is identified, whether it's direct to customer or it's business to business or it's a business to government, what kind of customer segment is there, then you need to identify the kind of relationships you have with customers, the revenue streams and all. On the right side, you see the key partners, key activities, key resources. So this is more when you're actually starting to do business. So while on the right side, you kind of more work towards understanding what you're going to do. On the right side, you plan on how exactly the business will be driven. And in between comes the value proposition that you actually bring to the table to a customer. So value proposition is something that needs to be worked upon as well at a very early stage. Now in key partners, again, as we were discussing in the manufacturing readiness slides also, you need to identify who will be your suppliers, who will be your distributors, and other things. The key resources in terms of, again, maybe do you have the manufacturing resources? Do you have the requisite manpower, team, and all that? Key activities is what all major activities you are going to undertake. So it could be customer acquisition plans and all those things. The cost structure and revenue streams are also important. So the cost structure basically defines what would be the cost of the product. Now, there are various ways to calculate it, but generally when we think about putting a product, the first thing we need to identify is the bill of materials, what all need to be incorporated and how much I'll acquire it for. So with that, you can calculate a bill of materials. Okay, this much is the raw material that are required to build this product. In the cost structure, you also involve your OPEX, the operational expenditures like your electricity, building, manpower, and all those things. So getting on an average of that, you can identify that this is the cost of manufacturing for my product. Now you have to come up with the cost of sale for the particular product, and in between you have to keep your margins, your distributors margins, supply chain margins, and all those things. Sorry, the distributor network and retailers and all those margins are to be kept. And keeping all those in consideration, what would be the final price you will sell the product at? Also, in this case, we need to consider about our competition. So what are the competitive prices? What are the prices of the competitive products in the market? So those considerations are also to be made. And then the revenue streams again. So where exactly will the revenues come from? Who are your first people, or what different revenue streams could be there? Am I selling one direct product to somebody, or along with the product, there's also a service that goes in, like maintenance, for example. We procure automobiles, so there's a one-time cost, and then there's a service cost that keeps on coming. So you also identify all the revenue streams that you have. So once you work on this business model canvas, then you start looking at the investment readiness. So once you have done the first pass of the business model canvas, you're clear with your ideas, what has to be done, how it has to be done. At that stage, you are at IRL 1. But again, it's just a plan. Nothing has been done yet. So there would be no investor. So as you see on the right side, there are still no investors. So then you have to build in terms of projections also, like market size and competitive landscape analysis. Who are the key competitors? What are their offerings? And what is the overall market size? So if I say, for a very basic example, the market size is say 1,000 crores, but there are already competitor products, and with your product offering, one particular market segment could be initially be approached. So out of that 1,000 crores, maybe you can initially reach a market of 10 crores within the first 1 year. So that kind of analysis you start doing on your market size and so it's again the regional market, local markets, and then the global markets. All these could be kept into considerations. At IRL 3, we go into a problem and solution validation. So we are now building a solution, and we try and see whether that solution works for the particular problem that we are targeting. So here you see that products and services are coming in, the grain creators and painkillers. So this is again the kind of solution that you bring in. That's what we call. So at this stage also initially, like you start prototyping, start making some initial things, validate the product. So friends and family may be very interested to invest, but again, you might still not reach to a stage where an investor is having a confidence on you that, okay, this thing will work. Then you reach through TRL 4, 5, and 6 stages where a prototype or a low fidelity minimum viable product is ready. Once the product is ready, you do a market fit. So you try and you might do some pilots or initial feedback with some initial customers. And talking to customers is basically a very important thing. And in most of the programs that we do, I think what we tell the teams is to go to the customer as soon as possible instead of like spending a lot of time on the development. So once your low fidelity prototype or at least a working minimum viable product is ready, you go to the customer. That will basically eventually validate your product market fit, whether the product is fitting in the market and the customers are actually showing interest. So this gives you an evidence that your product and services are creating the customer value and gaining a traction in the market. So at this stage, and after completing this stage, you also come at a stage where you can validate the revenue model, which is the right side of the canvas. So once you know that the customers are going to take it, and they're interested in the product, then you can actually channelize and create better plans on the business model canvas and have more specific details about your revenue models. So at that stage, the angel investors might be interested to invest. And the angel investment comes generally in the form of capital in the range of 25 lakhs to 1 crores, 1.5 crores. So at early stages, like at early stages of like when you're initially at a prototype level or you're going to validate product market fit. So these days, while there's a lot of support available in terms of the funding programs from government agencies and even CSR support from various agencies, but when we talk about investments by actual investors, so we also need to understand the investor terminology. So investor is a person that puts in money with a goal of getting a return out of that. So anybody, individual or a group of individuals putting in money in your product will be eventually interested in gaining back from that. So that will only come when they are confident that the company will grow to a stage. So once you have done the product market fit and once you're clear with your revenue models and all, at that stage, it gives them a lot of confidence that, okay, the company might grow and we can put in money. But again, the corpus size is small, and that's why we call them angel investors. So while you're still at a very risky stage, but these people invest in you as angels. So at IRL 7, the high fidelity minimum viable product is ready. So the product again is going to market and maybe getting your feedback. Then you validate at investment readiness 8 level, you validate the value delivery, which is the left side of the canvas as we were looking here. Like your key partners are ready, the key resources are there. Like we were discussing in manufacturing also, like that all my manufacturing processes should be ready. My supply chain should be ready. So similar way we see like whether all our partners are there, all our key resources are in place, the key activities you've defined, the cost structures. Now, because you have developed it to a stage where you can start manufacturing, so you're also more clearer about the cost structure, of the final product. And then at this stage, you start working on customer acquisition, average selling price, you know your monthly cash burn rate, you have to do. So customer acquisition cost basically comes in the form of advertising, sometimes giving freebies. So initially you see a lot of new products are launched, they give 1+1 or they give certain offers, or maybe the product is packaged with another known brand product so that people can at least try that. And maybe, so that those are all customer acquisition costs. So at that stage, when it's ready to go to the market and you've defined all these things, then venture capitalists who can put in a lot more money in the tune of, say, somewhere between 2 to 10, 15, 20 crores, and even more than that come in. So then you have pre-series A round, series A, and then further venture capital rounds. So this is how we define investment readiness. Again, like this is a chart where you can see the different investment readiness levels. So right from one, the business model canvas is filled in, you describe your assumptions, you outline how each assumption will be tested. But again, it's more on the assumptions level. By the time you reach TRL 5, you map customer ecosystem flow, your market channels and customer relationships are validated. You've done some customer interviews. At IRL 6 and 7, you actually market-based prototypes are completed, the actual solutions are validated in the market, the minimum viable product has been reached to the customers, and they can test and they can show in their interest in the product. And again, at IRL 8 and 9, as I mentioned, like the partnership ecosystem, the funding and growth model, IP requirements are identified. So you just leave around all the assumptions now into actual action, and that's where you can raise more investment. So this whole chart defines how you're ready in terms of securing investments. So if I say that I'm at IRL 5 right now, so I've kind of done my customer validations and talked to customers. If I'm IRL 7, the customers have actually validated the products, and then I've done customer feedback interviews. And IRL 9 is when it's already, so beyond IRL 9, it's more about scaling up in terms of your manufacturing, in terms of your market size. So multiple manufacturing units could be put in so that the product manufacturing could be enhanced and you can reach to more and more markets. And as the company scales, then it's obviously ready for more and more investments. So, so this is to conclude and just basis like kind of implications that are there for these readiness levels. So we understood the technology readiness level, we understood the manufacturing readiness level, we understood the investment readiness level. So why these were important? So in conclusion, one is in improving project understanding and outcomes based on its maturity level. So if somebody speaks that this is a technology readiness at which I am currently, so if somebody wants to take up their technology with a tech transfer, if somebody wants to partner with me, that will help the person understand where exactly I stand instead of defining the whole thing. It also helps in predicting time to market. So as you see, TRL 9 is the actual market, while in manufacturing, it could be starting from 7 to 9, where the initial low rate production also starts. Same as in investment readiness level. So you can also predict the time to market, that how much time this product can take. It reduces the risk while adopting a new technology. So if I'm taking a new technology and I'm told about the TRL, maybe I would be interested in further discussions. It also has an impact on development schedule and cost. So if I, as a company, is going to acquire some technology, or I want some technology to be integrated with my systems, once I know that at what stage of readiness the technology or the manufacturing it is, I will also be able to understand the impact on development schedule and cost that I have to bear when I take up the technology and start further developing it. Then, as I told, like assessment for funding programs also. So many funding programs might ask you at what TRL stage it is. And there are different programs for different TRL stages. So at TRL 1, there are programs like immersion programs where you actually go to fields and try and identify problems, do some basic principle analysis. Then at TRL 3 and 4, there are product development or prototype development grants that are available. So your initial applied research is done in the lab. Research can say that, okay, there is a proof of concept, or maybe the technology works. Now you have to build an actual prototype, or show the prototype works in a particular manner or not. So it also has an implication to understand in terms of the funding program. So I can say, like, if you tell me that, say, my TRL level is 4, what would be the suitable funding program for me? I can tell you, and even the programs ask you in their forms at what TRL you're currently. And again, TRLs, MRLs, and IRLs could be used concurrently in the development of products and manufacturing processes. There are some other measurable levels also in production. So one is an integration level, which is more about a system integration. So if I'm developing one component, and especially adopted by defense. So in defense, you see like a lot of different components could be actually integrated. So if I'm talking about a warplane, some specific missile or some surveillance system could be integrated, or a radar could be integrated to the system. So whether its integration readiness level is at that stage that it could be integrated into that existing system. So There's also a definition of integration readiness level. Again, there's a system readiness, which tells about the readiness of the entire system with all the integrations that are done. We also talk in terms of supply chain readiness. Supply chain readiness is also important when we talk about MRLs and IRLs and all. So when we go to a business, I think the supply chain readiness is very important, and this also helps us to determine the impact of disruptions, whether a supply chain disruption could affect us and how large effect can it actually have on us. So with that, I would like to thank you all for joining me today. I would like to close the talk here, but I think we can have a discussion around the topics that we discussed today. And yeah, the floor is open for questions. Thank you.
Uh, thank you, Asutosh, for very nicely presenting about these concepts and also highlighting the implications of technology readiness level, manufacturing readiness level, and investment readiness level, especially in the form of technology development and innovation development, and when you are taking that technology to the market in the form of startup. So there are lots of applications and also implications of this concept, this technology readiness level, MRL and IRL, in day-to-day life of any innovator and startup. So I know that this TRL and MRL and IRL, actually these are the standardized process. And once you have this, once you will start adopting this standardized process in your technology development and in your research, in your startup, in your go-to-market plan of your startup, actually that will help you to make sure that you are in the right track or not. It will also help you to check the progress of your development of technology and the venture, and that's also will give a better communication to the investors and the stakeholders and the partners about and you will also you will also able to attract these stakeholders, and you will make a good successful collaborations. So now investors, stakeholders, they try to judge, they try to evaluate, they try to understand your progress by setting these as a measurable indicators or the parameters of the growth of your innovation and the startup. So this is a standardized practice, not only in exist in almost in all the advanced countries, and slowly also India is adopting, because our ecosystem is now maturing on every year and on day-to-day basis. Also, the most important thing is that the TRL and the MRL and the IRL, when you are saying it is scale from 1 to 9 or 1 to 10 or 1 to 9, that is as per the things. Actually, it is very important to know that actually how far you from the TRL 9, right? You should not count from the how far you have progressed from TRL 1. Consider if you are in the TRL 4 stage, TRL 4th stage, you should not be happy that you have crossed TRL 1, 2, and 3. You should not be happy. You should not you should not benchmark your progress taking the TRL 1 as the baseline. Your aim should be that how far you are from the TRL 9. That means still there are TRL 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to be achieved. So this should be the measurement of your TRL 9 should be the benchmark, and you should reach to there. So your distance from TRL 9 should be calculated, not from the TRL 9, TRL 1 from where you have started. So this is the common methodologies and standards. Actually, if you will start adopting it, it is really going to help you lots in various ways. And let's see that what are the questions we have from our participants. So what documents have to be submitted to attract angel investors? Astos?
Yeah, so it's not about much of documents. Actually, we would say at what readiness you are at to attract angel investment. So again, as I was discussing, so a business model canvas is definitely one thing which keeps on evolving as we go through the investment readiness levels. Now, documents submitted are different thing. Document submission will be coming primarily at the due diligence stage. But the due diligence stage comes only when an angel investor has already shown an interest in your product or your proposition. So when we present in front of an angel investor, the most important thing that we have to keep in mind is in terms of our various aspects of the innovation. So one is if you're developing a product for that matter. So at what TRL the product is, that is one. How experienced is your team, and are the team members committed to taking the startup forward? And do they have the relevant expertise and relevant experience to take it forward? Also, do you have business mentors along with you? So the technology, the team is there. Again, one more important thing is the market size. The larger the market size, people might be more interested to invest because the company can grow in an exponential manner. There are certain other considerations also. One is intellectual property. So if you have an intellectual property registered, then in that case, you for some time in the market, you get a clear free run. So having an IP also helps. Then also it's about your projections and your actually ambitions of growth and whether you're ready with your plans or not. So that's why I mentioned in the business model canvas, like who are the key resource partners. So you need to understand in terms of, are you ready with the partners? Do you have the supply chain? Do you know who could be the distributors? Also, if you're at early TRL stage, are you aware of the regulatory landscape? What kind of trials and certifications are required? What kind of various government agencies would license this product for sale? So having that clear understanding. So when you pitch in front of an angel investor, these are the basic things that they will see. Once they see all these things and they're interested in your product, then they will ask you for further documents. So the document could be your initial financial sheets, the previous year's audit statements, your company's MOAs, documents, and other things, your founders' details. They'll also do a valuation of the company, like based on whatever stage you are, based on whatever market is there, and based on if any sales has already been started, what would be a potential market value of the company. So all these things are done at the document submission stage and others. But again, like when you pitch to or when you talk about attracting an angel investor, it's about more your business readiness that we define from the investment readiness level.
Yes, Astos, you rightly mentioned, and also I think I want to add few points here. Is that
Sure.
actually rather preparing the documents what angel investment or angel investor will require, rather you standardize your own development path, and you should know that with the lots of clarity that what you have developed and where you are now. That will give you the better benchmarking process rather than preparing the documents what others are asking, right? So if you will put this TRL, and if you are already into the certain stages, if you are not clear about actually where you are now, so spend some time on understanding this TRL and especially IRL, if not MRL at this moment. So try to first benchmark that actually what we have done, and now in which stage you are. And when you are in your TRL3, we assume that that particular innovator has clearly visualized his product when that product will reach to the TRL9. That means when you will reach TRL3, you should know complete technical and business and market aspect of your product and what it should be look like when it will reach to TRL9. If you are not able to visualize that your TRL9 product when you are in the TRL3, that means you did some mistakes, your homework is not complete, and you have missed certain components, and that will again delay your process to reach to the TRL9. That means make sure if you are in TRL3, if you are claiming you are in the TRL3, that means you have a complete picture of your TRL9 product in your mind and in your pen and paper, so that only will actually give you a what is the timeline you will take from TRL3 to TRL9, and also in what the processes, what are the compliances, what are the certifications, what are the regulatory pros, everything you will get to know, and that gives the TRL9 picture. So you have to spend lots of time, and you have to interact, and you have to take the expert consultation from the experts, and at the TRL3 and 4 level you have to have all this kind of information in your hand and in a documented form. This is the what actually more important when you are you are in the TRL3. Now let's take the second question, that can you please explain on timeline to be framed to be successfully launch the product, so that when launched it does become an obsolete product.
Yeah, so this, thanks Deepan for explaining it very nicely. So again, for this question particularly, a lot depends on the technology or the product that we are actually bringing in. So, so there could be certain futuristic technologies where actually the timeline to development could be even larger, and the market will still stay for a long time. If you're bringing in a product thinking about today, probably you don't have much time. So, and also depends on the product itself. So if it's a frugal product, doesn't need much resources to develop, I think the timelines will be low. If it's a high resource intensive product, need a lot of technology to develop, so it might take much more time to develop. And again, also in terms of having the manufacturing readiness to produce that in desired quantities. So to give a short answer, actually, there's no specific on this. Anybody would try to launch it as soon as possible. The fastest time we would like to go to the market, but again, like depends a lot on the technology and the product they're going to launch.
Yes, yes. Astos, I just want to add again another two more lines here. So, especially in the biotechnology-based products or something like those are hardware products. Generally, the chances of getting technology obsolete is bit less in quickly. But in case of IT related, information technology based related products like software based startup, and especially also in the kind of mobile technology, that is Android and all these kind of things, the technology get obsolete quickly. So we have to first we have to understand the market in a very in depth, and we have to see the history of these kind of products in the domain sector we are going to play. And if the technologies comes in that particular domain or the sector has a high rate of getting obsolete in very quickly, then also we have to plan our product planning and product development and product plans accordingly. So understanding the history of the market of that particular sector will help a lot to understand what happened in past with the similar kind of products or the similar products in the similar domain. So we have to get that knowledge first, and then there are again, if you classify the whole TRL1 to TRL9, according to me, I can classify into two level. One is at up to 1 to TRL4, where actually you need certain times to understand, to conceptualize and to develop the solution. And from TRL4 to TRL9 will be another timeline you can plan, where once you are sure that what is your product that it should be look like, then you should work very kind of a very focused manner, and very fast you have to think that how we will reach from TRL4 to TRL9. The more and more time you will take from TRL4 to TRL9, then definitely other competitors or other players will definitely take the advantage of that, and your product will get obsolete when you will get into the market. So there are two ways you can think, but there is no direct and concrete answer of that. What is the timeline? Timeline is depend on the innovators end or the startups end. Those are actually their visualization, their capacity, their technical and management capacity, their understanding on the market, their understanding on the risk and the uncertainties, their strategic approach of plan A, plan B, and plan C. It depends on their own their capacity and the kind of a skill set. So we can't say that this is the timeline, but we can say that these are the steps you have to complete if you want to go to the market. So what the TRL and what is the IRL and MRL says. So timeline you have to fix, steps already given.
Right.
So I think if there are no questions, then we will close it. And thank you, Ashutosh, for very beautiful presentation, and also mentioning each and every stages and the implications. Also, you have highlighted the IRL in depth, and I think this will be kind of a very, very useful or all the faculties, because they are good at the technology development, but they've always missed the MRL and the IRL. Even the TRL 7, 8 after that, they are good at reach to the TRL 5 and 6, because TRL and 5, 6 says that demonstration of the technology in the laboratory environment or some simulations says they are good to reach that level, but they are not good at taking the technology from 8 afterwards, like 8 and 9. So this is the where our faculties have to focus on, and also they have to see that how TRL and IRL is more are integrated, and they have to also see that when the technology develops, there should be a market and investment readiness level also to be explored simultaneously. And if any startup is willing to take the technology, then they should focus on the more on the MRL aspect, so that they will start producing and will start getting into the market. So in this way, we can make use of all these standardized tools for our innovation and startup journey. And again, thank you to Ashutosh and the team, IIC team, and all the members for putting their hard work and efforts to make you and bring you this kind of concepts, and making you enriched with knowledge, so that your confidence will boost up, and you will also motivate others, and also you will help the students in terms of providing the mentorship supports. Thank you. Thank you again, Ashutosh.
Thank you,
Over to
Deepan.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Deepan sir, for encouraging us. So it was a very good session, sir, on innovation and development. We have explained about the different readiness level in innovation. I hope many of our participants have got the good understanding on these readiness level of innovation and technology transfer and the business model Canva, which you have briefly explained about it. So thank you, Ashutosh sir, for beautifully conducting the session and sharing your valuable time with us and encouraging our participants with your session. So thank you everyone for attending the session. Now you can submit your assessment after the end of this video. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.